Thank you for coming, all of you. So this started because of the context of where I was located when I started the book. So I did my studies here in London at the RCA, and I had a lot of painters around of me, and the discussion of painting was different to what I actually encountered in Istanbul. So I had my first solo show with Dirimart in 2023 in Istanbul, and the reactions and how people approached painting was so much more different to what I was usually used to. And the discussion around it made me actually decide on, the viewers wanted more explicit explanation about the work. It wasn't, their approach was different. They wanted to know and understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I was used for my paintings to talk for themselves. That's like, I never wanted to verbally explain them either, or I never had to. And at that point, I realized that people needed some explanation. And in order to respond to that demand, I started on social media posting. So whenever I would post a painting of mine, I would post images that are explaining in a really indirect way, like of photos I was taking around the time I'm making the painting, of objects or places, etc. And so at some point, Levent called me one day, and he was like, "Çağla, this is really explaining without explaining the book." And so he had the idea of putting them together and making a kind of smaller version of this book, I think. And so I thought, in order to start, so I think I'm like over-explaining your question.
Well, I mean, it's overworked.
Yeah, exactly. So
well, I mean,
everything has to be overly
That's great.
done. So I decided to print all of my paintings in little photos. And I also printed all of the photos I took, like about 2,000 photos that were on my phone. And it made me kind of realize that when I was doing, at the moment, let's say it's a month of me doing one painting, all of the photos that I had taken that month were related somehow to the painting without me noticing. Because I was like feeding myself with my surrounding anyway.
But can I ask you what were you drawn to with photographing in the first place?
The fact that there was, so that's what I realized once I started grouping the photos, because I had no idea.
So you were just photographing anything that you saw?
Anything that attracted me and gave me an idea. It might be a color, way the light reflects, like a combination of contrasts in the city, everything around. Like it could be, or a food combination. Usually, like what I'm also trying to do on the paintings is create those contrasts, etc. But I wasn't either in my work that much aware of what I was doing. And this process helped me to, once I started grouping photos, I realized I always am drawn to symmetry, a certain light reflection, a certain, let's say, object, like certain colors, etc. And it made me kind of reveal what I'm doing in painting at the same time. So I think I still cannot tell you explicitly like what kind of specific photo it is, but photos that I think can be related to the paintings, to the ideas that are in the paintings, or to the color combinations, to placements that I use or composition in my compositions. So that's how I started somehow. Maybe you can tell in the next photos. These are pages of the book. Yeah, this is me grouping the photos. But then, yeah, so each photo had some kind of, I was trying to see the relationship between the photos, but also the materiality had also a lot to do with it. And yeah, so from Levent's idea, instead of putting them he didn't know it, like we didn't know how to place it. I decided in each of the paintings, there's always a notion of space, a place. So I started the collages with a certain place, and each place or space also, so I would place one object from the photos I took as a collage, and then each object kind of suggested another image that I will make, like put in the collage again. So it was like adding up by revealing itself, and that's how the choice of image started coming in. But since that also started to be placed in an intuitive way, I had some of the photos missed. Like it would suggest an image that I didn't have one specific object or photo. So I started integrating photo stock. And that's interesting because photo stock has no specific reference, like no place. It kind of belongs to the internet. It's really neutral images. And so I started playing with all those photos as if they were brushstrokes and placing them, like using the space as kind of a canvas, the environment, building an environment, and subjectively it made sense to me. So I would stop at the point, and I realized that it's kind of like, it really reflects the painting. That's, I would place the painting as well in the image of the collage, and the end of the collage, like the one collage that I would finish, could also, which was exciting to me, could also suggest another total collage. Like I could make 100 collage from one collage. And I think that's kind of the way I work with painting as well. So it made sense.
I think what's quite lovely about this book as well is that it's got all these like very, very busy collages, but then you have, after those pages, you have just the painting. So that's quite an interesting way of sequencing and sort of showing readers, sort of almost like not a map, but, well, not a dictionary, but like it sort of doesn't explain, but there is a kind of visual language where you see all of these images and then you see just the paintings.
Yeah, that was another tricky thing in making the book, because you don't, like, we did a much bigger version to be able to have the painting in a bigger scale, and also, like, we didn't know how to place it. Is it one collage and then a painting? But then, because the painting is also in the collage. So it was a tricky, that whole thing, because making a book is again like making an object, a painting again. So all those decisions had to be decided while we were, the size even matters at that point. And also I made so many, like it's 82 paintings and 82 collages, which another reason I did that was that you can't really understand if you only make 5 of them, and you kind of start remembering what was what. I wanted to make an accumulation to be able to make you not really have the memory of just one collage, so that you understand as if it was like a painting, the whole thing turned into a painting. Like one collage would be kind of a brushstroke, and I don't know if it makes sense, but that's another reason why it's so many paintings and so many collages. But it's true that it was really difficult to be able to have that empty space, because to be able to have the painting also seen as a quality, like to not to still have a painting book and to still show that the painting is the most important thing here, and that the other one is kind of like a add up, like a way of, you know, the orbit of it, like the main thing is the painting. But I think we solved that while we were making the book. Not, like, I didn't think about at all while I was making the whole thing, how the rhythm of it would be, or what I would put, which painting would go with which painting.
Did you learn anything about your process or your way of working through making this book? that you hadn't sort of realized?
I revealed my, I think, language. It's kind of like I understood my alphabet of like why I'm doing things. I already had a sense of it, of course, but when I was making the paintings. But then I also always thought I should be making, iterations, like always like, because each time I work, I make one painting and that's a world. It's like a person with a singular character. And then the next painting is a totally different person with a singular character. But I mean, from the outside, they would tell me, we can tell that it's all your paintings. But I always had this, because of the art market right now also, should I be making iterations? That was a question, but it will really bore me. I never...
Why did you feel like you had to make iterations?
I think because of the art market itself, like people trust more. I always thought people trust more an artist who knows what they're doing, repeating it and having like a singular palette and singular thought. But this kind of made me accept myself more, the book, because I justified to myself that each painting has its own environment, world, and different references. And to me, that kind of made peace with my own process, and also made sense because of the visual information we have around us. I mean, I'm interested in seeing all kinds of graphic, visual, like all of us, we're totally in this madness of visual information all
Maybe
the
we
time.
could talk a bit about that as well in your work, which is that sort of like, how do you sort of combine your personal experiences and you in the work with the kind of visual cultures and histories that you're informed by? Like, how do they reconcile, or do they need to?
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna get to that by saying something else. Like, when I explain my work, or when like gallerists try to explain my work, the main narrative is always like, she's been to different cultures and around the world, blah, blah, blah. But I don't want to stick, it's okay, but that's not the only narrative. And the main reason that's interesting to me, to have been living in different cultures, is that the places I live in, I start to own the city's patterns and context and, not context, imagery. When I repeat them, it's not like I have an idea of what, let's say, Mexico is, so I'm going to use this color. It's like I have to live in it to be able to own it. And that needs to be like coming out of me in a more honest way. But I think having lived in quite chaotic, in the last years especially, so Mexico, I was living in Mexico City, and then in COVID I moved to Istanbul, which is also the city is very chaotic. So let's say in one street you would see in Istanbul an Ottoman old artifact next to a pharmacy sign, next to LED lights, and there's everything in one singular street. Like, the city itself is a collage, and Mexico City wasn't much different from it. So it's, I think the collage idea made sense in that way. It was a continuation of an experience. So I think that's where the collage idea came from, because I don't make the paintings by planning a narrative either. I just want to reflect what I'm going through at that moment, what I'm seeing, what I'm living as a body, and then trying to act as a how do you say,
like a conduit for it,
like the body as a tool of taking whatever I've seen outside, like that. It's there's nothing planned, there's no narrative, and the narrative comes after. And this really helped me to build a narrative, but then I realized it doesn't have to be only one narrative. It's many narratives.
And it's also reflected in the fact that this book doesn't have any text in it.
Exactly. I mean, that's one of the reasons, because I didn't want to tell it verbally, and I didn't want to put it in text either. And because I'm like I really wanted to talk by itself, but I also wanted to be accessible to the context I'm living here for people to understand, and they don't have to be knowing about painting or having the knowledge of what painting history is. So I thought maybe the common language we all have is the internet and is the visuals, images. I think that's the most international common language. So I thought, okay, then if I'm doing this visually, there's not going to be one single word in it, which at the end I had to put for the information of which I even like kind of...
I was going to ask you about that, how it feels when you have sort of like a press release written about
Exactly. So when that happened, the editor was like, Çağla, no, you're exaggerating. Like, at least let's put an info about yourself. Even that to me is useless because that's on the internet. Like, this isn't much different than my Instagram. Or like, you write you could get my info. It's not about me. It's about the painting. So, but of course, it's the title also like is a word actually. It's a text. That came in really late also.
Because overworked is often used as a word that sort of criticizes artwork, right? So once something is overworked, it's like not good, supposedly. So maybe you should tell us about that.
Yeah, the book wasn't gonna have any title at all, but then I realized it would only have my name, which I didn't want it to be my name. That was turning into the title. And so it just came to me that it needed to be something that's also related to painting. And in painting, we have this, especially in crits, a really thin line when a painting is done. If it's overworked, you just don't talk about it anymore. Like if we say in crits, oh, this is overworked, that's the end of it. Like, I mean, it's a really, I don't know if it's, it's a language between painters, I think. And your biggest fear, actually, is to know when to end a painting and not to overwork it. So that's like something that's haunting me anyways, that word, in a negative way, but also that's the thin line, and it's a line between the collage and the painting also. Like the collages are made in such a way, like in the paintings, it's not a chaotic, like I'm gonna put every image in it. It's really like the position of one image, one trait, like it had to be balanced. That's why it kind of made me go backwards in my process. Like I started doing the collage like the painting. And so the collages are also, it seems like when you say overworked, like overcrowded, but to me it's not at all. The reason I said overworked to relate to the whole thing is that it's like too many paintings, too many images, and too much intention to reveal and make myself understood. Like no artist, I think, has like it. I mean, I'm not gonna say none of them, but it's not a common thing to reveal yourself or your practice that much, and that doesn't bother me at all. It's like I love sharing my process, and I think I'm also like an overworked person in my work and dressing up and thinking and talking. So it made sense in every sense, in every area, in every like painting, collage, my life, the way I need to travel to places and live because of certain circumstances.
But the way you're describing it sort of suggests that you're not so worried or afraid of the idea of like overworking something. In painting I am, like not in other things, because even in collages you can go back. In painting it's more, even though it's not planned, you need to, it's tricky. You need to stop at
the place you're stopping, you need to own it, and it needs to feel to me even more like as if I didn't do the work, like it surpassed me something. Yeah, I mean, every painter has their own way of working, of course, but that's kind of my way of searching. And I'm not precocious, but I'm scared of, like, I don't, even when I paint, I don't throw the canvas and start another. I'm like obsessively trying to solve one, and I almost never, I think, even like put a painting aside or been like, oh, this is not working, let's just start a new fresh canvas. So yeah, that's why I'm precautious, I think. Like, I don't want to overwork it, or if I do, I will start over, but on the same painting, creating those layers and layers.
Do you work on one painting at a time?
2, maybe, maximum. Or like if I'm doing a really big work, I work on small paintings that are like the orbit of the main one, that are giving this. Also, I start doing like, if I like a part of the painting, and it doesn't work with the rest, but I'm really like attached to that part, I take it, I start a new canvas and exactly reproduce that idea. So it's kind of like keeping it for myself, and then rework the painting and not be precious about it and make it disappear. It doesn't matter, I like have it on the side.
And in a sense that kind of ties in with this like your kind of collaging brain, where you can like see, you know, a specific thing and then you take that out of a canvas into a new one.
Exactly, and that's also a collage. Even when you make a show, you start with one detail. This can be like, the idea can be, I don't know, a color combination, or, you know, an idea that starts maybe in a really tiny place. You kind of make a collage of, expand the idea and then make many works. But when you put them together, it's one single idea.
Has the internet, or like sort of internet visual culture, social media, sort of those sorts of graphics, has that always been part of your practice? Like, has that always been alongside the painting, your interest in that?
I also knew from my age, the time before all that visual culture and having internet. But I mean, it's such a, I don't even know how to explain it. It's such a part of my life now that I don't want to go against it, though. I don't want to be like, oh, painting is like a specific thing, it's material. And I think that's exciting in this book, because I had no idea on how to bring them together, because I don't do figurative or work either much. When I'm working, the things you see in the collages, they run through my head anyway. And it's nice to bring them all together and keep them as I can keep the paintings physically. And yeah, as I said, I don't want to go against that visual, digital culture, because I mean, I spend 50%, maybe more time on it in my life, as we all do, I think. But I then also decided to make videos recently after the book, which I think you were going to ask, but sorry, I just jumped into it.
No, don't worry, go for it.
Yeah, so it's kind of slowly with the book, this, of course, it's like the ease of, you know, being able to bring digital stuff into the work, but not, so I know I don't have to incorporate it into my painting anymore in a graphic way, as I would want, like I was thinking about, but the video helped me do that with the moving images, give me even more space to, instead of having a flat image, introduce as well music, sound, and yeah, I think the video is a totally, like what I'm explaining now. So I'm painting, and then the visuals just appear on the video, and as if it's showing how my mind is working at that moment, and they disappear really fast. I think that gives it more, like, explains better my process than even the book itself, because it's a moving thing. That's why I said it doesn't have to be that collage for one painting. It could be 100 other ones. But yeah, I'm not I think that it's in the work anyway. It's starting. I made another video for my show in Hong Kong, and I partnered with someone who's working in this digital world, and we are now like continuing for every kind of show or to incorporate the video now. And it's exciting.
So does the video, sort of making videos, does that allow you to work in a different way to how you paint, or is there like a crossover?
It's the same thing to me. It's the same thing as dressing up or cooking as well. It's kind of like you have your ingredients and you just put them together the way you compose. One example is when I'm making a table to invite people. That's a thing I think about a lot. Like you put the tablecloth, that's to me the canvas. The way you place the plates, the forks, blah blah blah. Every move you do, like to put, I don't know, the fork a little closer to the plate, is like all these things are really intuitive. It has complete nonsense at all, but it's just a way of creating a balance to satisfy yourself. It's the same thing in painting to me. It's this intuition, and it's the same thing as dressing up, you know, putting one's last jewelry, like why? Like it doesn't have to be there, but that's like the cherry on top. It's like, then I finish. It's every, I think, thing I do in life is the same thing. So I can't separate video or painting or anything else I do as an action in life. In my mind, they all connect. Yeah, if that makes sense.
I want to go back to the thing that you said about how you don't like being so forefront, like even with your name on this book. Mm-hmm. But then with like the making of this book, there's like a really nice touch where with each of these books, you've put a sticker on the front.
Yeah.
So like it comes with a sticker sheet, which is really fun. But you don't get to choose what the first ones are, you do. And so like your hand and your presence is still there.
Yeah, so we had like 300 books printed, let's say, I think. And I even told my mom to come to help me because I decided so that I wanted like I wanted to be in the book physically as well. So each sheet, we chose randomly a couple stickers and put them on the cover randomly. So each book actually is unique. And it has that missing sticker in the sticker sheet that's on the front. And I've touched and put it. I mean, my mom did also, but... but yeah, that's another... That was, I think, no one knows about it, but that's kind of like my little
And there is also, not
presence.
To put you on the spot, but I think I did notice there's no figures in this really, except for maybe, is this a photo of you?
There's a lot of photos. I mean, not always, not in a really explicit way, but there's my sister a lot. So I kind of used it as a photo album of, you know, I mean, it's, you know, it's a thing to have a book. So it's just like...
But I think that's really lovely because you are there, that it's not just, you know, so many images of things that you've seen, but it's also...
Sometimes I put myself as well, yeah. But mostly my sister, because it made her really excited to be in a book. She's very young. So as much as I could, I used her photos sometimes when I needed some figure person.
And then can we also talk about this?
Yes, so that's another thing why it's overworked. The stickers plus this. The stickers was, since I'm trying to make my paintings more accessible, I wanted everyone to interact and make their own collages on the cover. And that's why, like, the cover is empty. And that car freshener is a symbol. So we decide to put a string, and then I'm like, the string has to need something at the end. You know, it never ends. It's like, I wanted to add something to everything, which the print house was, I mean, they started playing the game too. At some point they started dressing up to come to the print shop, and like we were all having fun with things. And anyways, the car, so I was like, what should we put? And then I thought the symbol of the car freshener is such a it could be on a David Lynch movie in a car, or it could be also in a bus in Istanbul, in a crazy bus ride in Istanbul. It's such a connecting, common image, and it also moves you to another place again, you know, not to the forest, but to a car. It's kind of the same way of thinking of the collage. It's like natural, but it's not, and it has the smell, as I did in the video, like bring the sound in, like bringing as many areas of, like, as much of life as possible. So we put that on the end of it. It had to have like but that technology doesn't exist, or it's like super expensive. You take it out and put it on your car situation, but we couldn't do that. So it's just on the tip of the,
yeah, it's stuck in here.
The bookmark.
But it's interesting that you talk about movement as well, because there is so much movement in your work. And I wonder whether or not you could sort of talk about the importance of that, or how you think about the idea of not staying in one place or not being fixed to certain images. Yeah.
So once, because I had never made a book before, I realized how it's a totally different job, of course, but like it never crossed my mind. I thought you put images together into a book. And once I was really lucky that I worked with a specific person who's like really does amazing books all over the world in Turkey, and has a lot of vision, Ufuk. And he told me, okay, now that you have everything, now you need to think about the rhythm. Because when you take a book in a shop, you know, you try to fastly sense all of it at once, and you actually stop. I mean, that's my thought. You stop at the moment you think you understood overall what's going on. And I kind of wanted to break that. So I worked for like maybe a week. I closed myself. I printed out all of the pages that are in the book, and decided on the rhythm of what collage comes after another. So it couldn't be a color combination. It couldn't be like an environmental or like a themed rhythm. And so that, and also, as you can see, like if there's one painting, there's the next painting, and then the collage of the painting on the right comes after. So that's also tricky. So which painting do we put with which? Which collage comes? It's a whole another collage, actually. And then I did it. I brought it to the press, and he was like, wow, this works. I don't know how to explain to you, but it works. And we were happy with which one came after which one. It's not about like the periods of time, periods of times I work. They're from totally different years sometimes, but they're not. There is a rhythm that, I mean, you won't notice probably, but in the making, it had to be thought about a lot, and that was the most difficult part of making the book.
So you had all the paintings before you created the collages?
Yes, of course. Yeah. I mean, I chose. First I chose 100, and then I started, like, we went down to 82, I think. And it became like an addiction. I had a deadline and I had to finish. So I was like making and it's a weird way of thinking also. I mean,
are there any ones that you regret not having in the book?
No, because I mean, no, this happens if there's like a collector who had bought a painting. They call me and say, why isn't my painting in the book? And like, where's my collage? So I promised them I will make the second one or something. Like it's coming. But no, I mean, I wish, like, I don't wish, it's fine, but they kept repeating to me, take out, like, let's make it only 50. And I was too precious about all of them. Like, I'm not sad because I didn't take out any. I put most of them.
Are you going to make another book? And if you were going to make another book, would it be also collages?
It would be probably, I didn't think about it. It won't probably be the same at all. Like, not at all, but I will continue this thinking process and probably add up something to it. And I think, like, now that I'm making the videos, I don't feel that necessity. But when I'm painting, I automatically started thinking, like, what will the collage of this be? And it really helps me because it helps me take a distance and be like, okay, you always use a space. What's the space this exists in? And then it started making me work more slowly and more reflective and mindfully, I think. Yeah.
Thanks, Çağla. Just wondering if anyone else has any questions in the audience. Might be a nice time to open it up.
Yes.
I wonder if you can say a bit about how sound informs your practice. 'Cause in the video here, the soundtrack is really prominent and it sort of drives the narrative of the video. And I guess we've spoken a lot about visual references, but sonic references too.
So it's like almost goes to my personal life right now because so the sound was made by a sound musician who is also my partner. And sound, the understanding, I didn't have that much knowledge of sound and music in a way that, I mean, of course I did, but it's so much more present in my life that the video and it felt like a necessity to have a sound and telling him, like, this is my narrative, like, I want to be telling this. What would you do if you transformed it into a sound? So let's say, but I had to explain my process of thinking, the collages, etc. And I wanted to know how someone can produce, and I wasn't going to put it in the video if it wasn't being the way I wanted it to. And then it really, I told him, so the narrative is in my childhood, like these sounds, and then the whole video is like an hour, and I wanted to be reflecting, which I never told, like, I don't explain this in the work at all, but for me, like, it was more to see what sound can do, or how can it exist with a work. So I asked them to use, let's say, sirens of like, and children's school, like I grew up in the States, sounds that I remembered from the States, playgrounds, etc. Like a more chaotic childhood, and it's kind of cheesy, that's why I'm not explaining it. But, and at the end, so this video was made for my show in Istanbul this past November, that was called Gardenscapes. And I wanted to finish with all that chaos, and you go into a garden, and suddenly it pauses, and it's like a more pleasant space. So I was thinking, again, in a visual way about the sound. And I wanted to see if he can make a painting out of the sound, actually. And he did, and it worked. And so what we decided to do, actually the video came first of me painting, the sound came second, and then at the end the visuals were added. So the visuals were added with the rhythm of the sound. But I mean, painting is also rhythm. I mean, all these things are also like, so I'm conscious that they're all connected, but I was never brave enough to include, like, because I felt like it wasn't part of my world. And since it became lately, I really want it was important to me to have it also, to feel more honest about the work, I think.
Yeah, no, because also we've talked about
answers
how,
their question.
I don't know, certain paintings were made listening to certain types of music, and that kind of created a certain rhythm within the painting itself, and so that there's always that layer that works its way into the painting as well. That layer that works its way into the painting as well.
Yeah, and also like music goes back to bringing painting, like musicians and painting work a lot together. Like especially like I started painting in New York, and that was something I always read about, how music influenced painting. But as I said, I never felt, since I'm not producing it, I wouldn't like, I didn't have the courage to use it. Yeah. And now that, yeah, so now it's coming in slowly. The videos, the book, they're all, yeah, adding to painting.
One last thing about the book, which was that it began as a way of explaining to a certain audience your work, but it kind of has ended up as something that's quite generative for your own practice and for your own thinking, right? Which is kind of a lovely conclusion to it. Maybe not conclusion, but you know, you said earlier about how you don't really like having to explain your work, but then actually to produce something where, honestly, like every time you look at these pages, there's more to see. And, you know, I'm a writer, and looking through your pages, I come up with ideas, and it's not, you know, necessarily I'm going to create something visual, but for my own writing and like my own creativity, just like looking
amazing
through,
to hear.
looking through these this book is just, there's so many ideas and so many. It's so playful with the associations. So thank you.
Thank you. I don't think it's like from my aim of the beginning to be explaining the works. I think it didn't do it that much. Again, like it's not like it didn't respond to that demand that much. But as you said, it's kind of helped me understand better. And I mean, thank you so much. Such a good compliment to hear that it can, you know, inspire people.
That's so nice. We should call it. But before that, if you haven't seen the book, it's over there. I would highly recommend having looked through it. It is also available in foils and in, where else is it available? Hatchards. But yes, do have a look at the book when you go. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.